she closes from work later than her husband. Let's say the man dismisses at 4 p.m. and then she comes back at 8 p.m. In cases like this, since we're talking about marriage and all of that, in cases like this, should this man wait for the woman? Yes, we're making the whole finance thing on the man, and then you hear people say the woman is supposed to take care of the kitchen and stuff. In cases like this, where the woman comes back late from work, later than her husband, what happens? Should this man wait for her to come back before food is made, or is there something?
This question is also boiled down to the same thing I'm saying on the understanding. There should be agreement and discussion. The whole thing should be clear that, okay, before all of this work and all that, thank God for this discussion, because some of this should take place before the marriage. There should be discussion. What do you do in courtship is to take care of some of these things. Since my work is like this, and in fact, in most of these discussions, when some of these areas are not agreed, that's when you start thinking whether you are going to enter into this or not. Because there should be a concrete agreement. Since I'm coming by 8 p.m., honey, what are we going to do? And all that. So is it going to be something like, anytime you have chance, you cook and all that, load the fridge with all stuff and all that. So when your husband comes, you can now, microwave and all that and all that. Discussion and agreement should be made before such kind of, because this we are saying is very sensitive.
It's a very sensitive
It's a sensitive issue. So it is something that must be talked about. You must talk about it, and there must be understanding on both parties. And when there is that understanding, whichever way they choose to go about it, it's up to them. Some people like, okay, cook if you can cook. Some people like, the wife may have cooked before that time. It's just microwave, take care of our coming in. So there are things in marriage that must be talked about. There are things in your marriage or in my marriage, the way we handle it might not be the way it happens. But whatever that works in that setting for both of you, agreement must be made. But when there is tough kind of argument and a harsh, misunderstanding, you can involve a counselor, you can involve, if you have a pastor or something, and all that, look into it. But there should be agreement on such kind of routine in terms of the husband coming by 4 p.m. and the wife coming by 8 p.m. There should be discussion should be made before such kind of activities should be engaged.
All right. Do you have final words you want to give to people who are preparing for marriage, the man, the woman? Anything you want to say to them right now?
Well, generally, I would want to say that as you are preparing for marriage, you have to pay attention to the maintain the purpose. Because sometimes when people prepare for marriage, what they keep doing is having fun, go to places, lick ice cream, as if that is what you're going to be doing in marriage. You'll be sure that when you got married, you hardly have time for such. So there are many things. Invest your time judiciously, study, ask reasonable questions, like some of these things we are discussing here should come up, assuming if I'm working this and that and that and that. So if you are, both parties must be able to have to a reasonable extent what you should expect when you enter into the marriage. Don't just have the whole fun and all that without asking questions that can bring out the, because there's some questions as you'll be shocked at the person you are going out with. There's some things you'll be sure that he's not of that opinion. Me, cool for you for what? Yeah. So why would that happen?
I marry you?
Why would there's some people from their own parental, whatever orientation. That's so, but questions bring out some of these things so that you know what kind of have a clue of what you are entering to. You'll be shocked to talk about this kind of case you raise here right now. A man will say, me, cool for what you work, because it can happen and all that. So these things should be ironed out. I think during the time of courtship and before you get into marriage, these are questions that should be asked. There are several important questions that I feel that people need to ask beyond just trying to have the fun. While you have the fun, you must pay attention to value. You must pay attention to principles. You must pay attention to things by the end of the day that's going to come up, so that when they come up, people have already have a kind of a solution on that, because definitely it's going to show up. You pay attention to when we start having kids, what are we going to do? When we start having, how many kids, how many children are we going to have? What is going to be this? What is going to be this? Yeah. So these are my general counsel to all the people getting ready to marry in 2022 and all that. You must pay attention to the main thing. In the midst of the fun, in the midst of the celebration, ask a reasonable question as a lady for your safety. Ask reasonable question as a guy for your safety. There are things you have to know. Whether the person is working, what do we do with your working hours? Don't say love, and forget the main thing. And when you forget men, by the time you get married, so why people still beat their lover? Why do people still divorce people that, they got married? Because many things were not agreed properly. Even people who agree are finding things difficult. Talk of people that there's no agreement, just fun everywhere. So we have to sit down and plan our walk very well in terms of marriage.
All right, now planning. Sorry, I know this was supposed to be the last thing, but then it just came to my head. Sometimes you hear people who say, when we were dating, you were not like this. This is not what you told me. Now we're in marriage, you're doing a different thing. It happens.
It happens.
So in cases where the spouse is different from what he used to be as a boyfriend or a girlfriend, she used to be as a girlfriend, what do you do?
Good. I'll have to bring in my calling as a pastor. It takes more than a man to know a man. It takes more than a human being to know a fellow human being. I bring him to the place of prayer, because in many cases, I'm of the opinion that over 75% of people who are dating pretend. But there are indicators, everybody's pretending. There are it's in marriage that you see the mentor. But there are indicators, thank God for this kind of discussion people are having, to say there are indicators that shows. Like questions bring some of these things out. Attitude and reactions will bring some of these things out. Because even while the person is pretending, every woman pretends. There are some women who they behave as if they don't talk and all that until they get married. There are some men also who are playing fine boy and all that, gentlemen and all that, until you discover they are Draculas. By the time you get to your house and all that, they, under slight provocation, they tear your face and all that. So, but we must understand that prayer is important, and then listen to your spirit, and then ask some reasonable questions that will review something. There are some indicators. Then you trust the Lord as we move into the marriage.
Trust the Lord as we move into the marriage. Thank you so much, Dr. Pastor Chibuzo Simeon, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
I really appreciate you. And for you who listened, now you know what to do. Now you know, especially in the area of finance, whose responsibility it is, what to do, and how you shouldn't even work just for the money. Even if your husband is a chief, you can as well do it for your own purpose, for fulfillment, for the vision you've always had. Go ahead and do it. It's not about the money. Thank you so much. We're going to be doing